Welcome, everybody, to the Lunch and Learn. I will be your host for today, Jared. I'm on the training team, and I will try to answer your questions to the best of my ability by either giving you a verbal answer if necessary, or if it's something that needs more detailed, demonstration, I can also try to build it. So as you think of your questions, I'm going to start off with one because one was pre-submitted. So I'm going to go and let's find that one. All right. So a question from Brian. Some of our forms don't load right away and want to know why. I'm going to allow you to talk because I'm going to need more detail on that. What is your process trying to do?
Yes, so we have a form that has like different things that the user like filled out, and we have so like from like one of our pages, like the user clicks on like the report, and it'll pop up a form that has all the data regarding that person. But sometimes when the user clicks it, the data on that form doesn't load, and they'll have to go back and re-click it again for that form to be populated.
What types of are you using, like sub dialog flows, rule flows?
Um,
What's the
just
mechanism of getting the data?
we're just using a flow. I can share my screen to show.
Unfortunately, we don't allow share screens in the Lunch and Learns,
Oh, okay.
just, because recorded and we post it later on, so we don't want to be posting some of your content
Got
publicly.
it.
Mm. So
Uh,
here's something you can check. So if your form doesn't load, do you have any custom styling on your forms?
we have we have our own CSS.
Okay, CSS. I know there was one client I worked with on the site where some some poorly written CSS or JS kind of font style could also cause forms to have a slow load.
Mhm.
I don't think that's really the case in your predicament. I think it is more the data maybe you're fetching. If you're fetching a lots of data to populate, or if you have like data flows that have to fetch data, find the particular user who's actually looking at the form, then spit out their particular record, that may take some time for it to load. And in those areas, we would build like some type of cache to cache some small portion of that data. So when your form rule flows or sub dialog flows like retrieve data, you can retrieve it from the server cache instead of going to the database and just refetching it again. There's a document that I'll put that goes into that over caching, which may help in this predicament. But
Okay.
what I would advise, I do think you probably might need more like hands-on assistance. So I would put in a support ticket if you can, um,
Okay.
and you can share your screen with them and they can show you. But here's the document
Okay.
that I was talking about that may give some insight. Where's the chat? I lost my chat. There it is. Everyone. So it's just caching overview and decisions, and there's a couple of other types of caches you could use.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. And I did have another quick question.
Yeah, go right ahead.
We're using an advanced data grid in one of our forms, and I was
Okay.
wondering if there's a way that we can get rid of the like the top bar.
Oh, that's blue, where it's like a
Yeah.
blue.
Yeah, that has
Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
the columns and like little like search and stuff.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Let me just create one real quick because let's see. File. Sure, we'll do this one. Okay, cool. I have an idea. I'm just gonna create a whole new form. Create a form. We'll call this one test data grid. Put that one in here. We'll say info mode. Sure, why not? And we'll make this a button type. I'm gonna make this a count just so I can just fetch some data and we can see it.
Mhm.
Say we're gonna run this flow. We're gonna change this form to be this one. Show form. And instead of debugging, I'm actually gonna run it. Test grid, test data grid. I think it's this one. And then I just gotta make sure that I fetch some data to display in it. Actually, I don't think I need to. I think it just will appear without it. Nope, I do need data. Fetch entities, fetch. And we want share. We'll do no results and results going there. We want account here. Oh, I didn't give it a data name. Haha. Account. Select from flow. Edit results. Boom. And I want to run this one because what? There's no data. Hold on. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's why. I keep forgetting. I have to configure this. On date, email address, and that thing is good enough. All right, close. Now I got the two fields. Because what I wanted to show is I don't think is or I want to confirm. So it's this parts like these or this
Or both.
both. Okay, so that I think there's some cool things. Nope. Where is I want to see if I can find what that is. So what is this? So what you can do is you can have CSS to be able to remove these icons. Oh my gosh. There's an actual a Chrome extension I use called like Magic CSS. And what that does is it allows you to, let me open it again. Nope. Stop it. Deactivate. Yes. Right. We can pick certain things that we want and you can find out what they are. And then you can design and just use like hidden on these things and they won't appear. So you can
Got it.
definitely do that with CSS. I think the main class of this, let's see what the entire thing. I wonder if I can get the entire. Can we not get the entire thing? There we go. So the main class is hold it there. Come on. Is called Silver Advanced Data Grid Advanced Data Grid Holder. So there's like a subclass that you have to get to that you can then write the CSS and just hide those.
Okay, so that's the only way to do that.
Correct. Yeah. There's no way to in the controls be able to just remove it. You'd have to write your own CSS. Other things you can do if you don't. Let's say you don't want to do the CSS route. Let me just deactivate
Yeah.
this code. Stop it. Other things you can do is you can also, that's why a lot of customers will also do this route where they'll have a data repeater. I think this one, was it create files? What is this? This just has a file and some data. Okay, cool. So some people, I'm going to use, is this the main form? Awesome. So some people will use, I'm going to delete this and show this one. They will use data repeaters. And what data repeaters do is they're basically mini forms for rows of data. And the reason why those are a little bit easier because you can leverage more of the form designer and you have more power on what you want those things to do. So let me just grab that main form that I was just demonstrating so you can see what's going on. I don't think I need data here because I can just generate some stuff. So over here, right, this is like a name and a last name and then a file. Let's say I'm trying to upload someone's resume. Now, instead of having its own header, it just has its own form, mini form that will display for each row. And then I have
Yeah.
buttons that will remove it. And if I do want to like add labels, right, it's pretty easy. I just edit this form. I can just move these things up one, add another column, right? And then I can customize it. So that's
Yeah.
the non-CSS route if you don't have to want to like change an actual form control directly.
And is for data repeaters, like, what if we want to show like a date, like a list of things that we have without wanting to like add or remove things? Because when I was messing around with the data repeater and it looked like it needed like outcome scenarios. Can you do it without it?
Yeah, you won't need an outcome scenario for here. So because this is the data repeater control setup right here, and so there's no outcome scenario. The only thing you will need, right? See how this is blank. The only thing you will need is you will need your own custom data type or using a decision's internal data type. So if you know, like, hey, I have, let's say, going back to like, let's say I'm hiring somebody, first name, last name, and then a list of references, right? How do I capture that list? What you can do is you can create different processes to display that list on like a text box. I think maybe I can show you one real quick on how I would do that. So let's say, I'm trying to think of what would be a fast and efficient way to do this. You can, it's very similar to like adding, showing a list of comments to it. Man, I wish I had just a default project. Okay, I'm gonna build this real fast. So we're gonna add a. This may not be. You know what? Let me do this. Just for the sake of, actually, I think we got time. I'm gonna try it for 10 minutes, and I think I can build some real quick. If I can't, Brian, I'll just create something, a small project for you, and I'll export it and email it to you. So just put your email in the chat, just so I have it.
Yeah.
And then I'll make sure to build you like that small project. But I'm gonna try it right now. So what I would do is, let's say we're just gonna create that. Let's say let's do a let's just do a database. And I'm gonna say this is displaying lists of data on DRs. Make this a root. And what I'm going to do is create a data type. Let's do a database just for fun, laughs and giggles. And we'll say this is going to be employment or potential new hire. This is going to be first name. This is going to be the last name. All right, and let's say I got a list of references. Yes, I know it'd be serialized in the data table. That is okay. I'm fine with that for right now. List of references. All right, so now I'm just going to grab a form, generate data form real quick, just for simplicity, and I'm going to generate some generic data. Generate data. Boom, and then I can say show form. Let's see, and I see your question, Alex. I've not forgotten it. Let's see, and I'm going to put existing. We're going to do, that's the form. So we're going to grab this form, and then I need to create that data type. Scroll down, user defined type. So I'm going to go to database structures, potential new hires, what I called it, add it here. And then all I need to do is select from flow, grab that input, and then I can just generate some data. So I'm just going to create like 2 sets of data. So this is going to be, let's do me. Oh, that's right. It's not going to like that one. All right, I got to change this form a little bit. So list of references. Let's do, we'll just add a text box multi-line somewhere. I want to make this bigger, put this here. We'll say this is list of data and pick from data, and I should be able to grab this from list of references. All this is just pre-set up just to get the example. And there's probably many ways people may do this. All right, cool. So now I got this. So now what I'm going to do is, let me make sure, split by new line, put this here, and then I'll have to build the data because I can't just grab everything. Input mapping, we're going to grab input, and it's going to be first name, it's going to be last name, and then we're going to split by new line is going to be the references. Now, before I save this data, I just want to make sure that this is going to be outputting in the way that I think. Oh, that's right. I did it that way. Hold on. That's why it's upset here. I'm just going to rename this and say this is references. Boom, now we got references. Awesome, I like it. So now what we're going to do is I just want to test that data, see what it looks like. So if I do Jared tab, Rod tab, and then we say Keith, Jada, Charles. I click OK. And all right, so perfect. So our output is in a list. That's what we want. Because now I can now say, okay, this will actually confirm this. So now what I can do is, that's good. So now I'm going to start saving data. So this is just pre-set up. I just capitalize my first name, Rod, and then list of references, Heath, Jada, and Charles. That'll be the references. Okay, boom, that's saved. We'll create a new session. Let's just save one more. And we'll say this is Jada. I don't know if I think it's something with a T as our last name. And then I'll do Charles, Will, and Gordon will be the references. Boom. Okay, so now I got, oops, I'm just knocking over stuff on my desk. All right, so now we got 2 pieces of data. So here's how I would display that information. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can, one, we can create a, what do you call it? It's just blank. A data repeater with a sub dialog. So let me create that data repeater, and this is going to be potential new hire data repeater, create text box. Oh, I didn't pick the input. Silly me. I always forget that. Input, potential new hire, it's in there. And then we're gonna say this is the first name, this is the last name. And then what else? What you can do is instead of displaying the list of references, maybe this is not good. I'm going to show you both ways. So this is one way you could do it. Dialog. I misspelled it. Sub. All right, you can have a button or you can have an image. I'm going to use an image. We're going to use legacy. I will go ahead and grab subdialog rule flow. I can say, hey, fetch entities to get the data. And then I'm going to say potential new hire. I'm going to fetch by the ID because I know it's a unique field, so I'm always going to get the same thing. And then what I'm going to do is I can create another form, show form. And this is just going to be, display references, create, and this is just going to be text box multi-line that just shows everything. And button for done, and this is going to be references. And then this results. And if there's no results, we'll just end. It just won't run. Potential new hire ID, and then I got to make sure I filter this ID and say, okay, we're going to grab whatever the current item is, we'll get that ID from it, and then we can display that information. So what that will look like is when I put this on a form and actually run this process, run my list of data, the data repeater. I still need to create another form with that one. Show form, pick existing, and I actually need a new one. This is going to be demonstrate data hires. And then I'm just going to add that data repeater. Put that in here, put that up here. Pick the source, recent, potential new hire data repeater. Boom, got that. Yeah, it's not going to look the best. And then new hires. There we go. And then I'm going to fetch my new hire records so I can display here. Fetch entities, my results. I forgot a button, of course. Put that in here. And so then this is potential new hire because I need to get that data again. That's the data I'm working with. And I'm just curious what it looks like when I debug. I don't think I mapped it. New hires, potential new hires, and then I debug. All right, so I got that. If I run the subdialog button, I didn't map anything into it, I don't think. Let me go back here. Let me go to subdialog, because I didn't configure this, or did I? All right, cool. So I got the ID. I didn't map anything here. That's funny. What's the, I wish I could, well, here we go. How you test these, this is a really good point. How you test these to make sure like you got the data when it's like kind of in sublayers. I'm going to debug this, and then I'm going to run the subdialog form. I'm just going to click the button or just close it. And I can look at the execution to the left, and I can minimize this form, and I can see, hey, I got a result. The output was a list of references, right? But then when I go to my inputs here, you'll notice, we'll just put test button. You'll notice I did not map in that input. There's no input mapped in. So now I know I got to go inside back here. Awesome. But then the problem is, problem is this takes in an input of a single item, and the stuff in the current item is going to be a list of references, right? It doesn't like that. It's going to say, hey, you can't do that. So what I can do is I can say, hey, I want to, you can do this a couple of ways. You can join strings with a special character. Special character meaning like new lines, things like that. So it makes it look more readable. So I'm actually gonna do that by line break, and I'm gonna take that list of references. And now what this step does is it takes that list variable and makes it a single value. And so this is the thing that I can pass in. And I can say, all right, select from flow. And we're going to, I gotta remove this. Nope, that was right. Wait, no, it wasn't. There we go. Join strings. I always forget the variable naming. All right, so now this one I think should display that data. All right, so now I go here, boom, here we go, Heath, Jada, Charles. So obviously ugly looking form, but there's the data displayed. And if I click on Jada, right, we get hers. So that's one way you could do it. Now, the other way that I could show you, I'm gonna show you that way, and then I'll export this thing to you and send it to you by email. Is let's say you don't want an extra user click. Kind of like when we design forms, we want to think in a perspective that says, how do we get the information needed to the user with the least amount of clicks, right? We're humans, we like being lazy. I like being lazy, right? So the less work we could do, the better. So how do we accomplish that endeavor? Well, what we can do is we can say, all right, well, let's go to, we can, yeah, we could do it that way. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. Is we're gonna extend this form and we're gonna make this have an extra column here, and then let's, I'll make this a little bit bigger. 1.25. The resize, we should make that bigger. Does it need to be even more than that? All right. 2, let's do that. I think that'll be good. All right, let's make that 3. So we can see. I'm just gonna make it 5, make it really ridiculous. All right, cool. So we got that. That's the data. I'm gonna have another multi-line text box that I'm gonna put over here. And then actually, I don't think this one may not work. It may not do it. Because in my head, what you can do, you could hide that field. How do I make it available? The difficulty is we'd have to think of a way to share the data that's displayed in the data repeater, and then display that into the data name here. And this would just be like the show references. Show references. So what I could do, nope, not form background, is let's say I can do an active form flow, and I can say, what's the, I don't really want it that way. What's the, we could say selection change. This is going to be display list of references. Active form flow. And then what we have here is we should have form data. We have the data repeater. And here we go. Okay, so we can do, okay, I think we got this. I think this makes sense. So then I can fetch entities, boom. Results, join strings by new or with special character. Constant separator, new line, select from flow. I didn't pick this thing. I have to pick the data type for it to actually output a variable. Once I do that, then I'm just gonna add this here. I actually probably should, if there's no results, should go to the end step so that just displays nothing. But then what I can do here is I can select from flow, new hire, get the list of references. Then on the output mapping, every step has an output mapping. In active form flows, you may have been taught you can use the you may have to use, you can use the set control value step, but the thing that you guys can do so the next thing you're going to have to do after that is you will need to go ahead and either use the set control value step, or I like using the output mapping editor because it's less steps. And then what I can do is I can do form data. And then what I'm going to output and change is the text area value. And so if I just drag my connection here, then when I click OK, what should happen is that the flow should know which selection I've made and then output the references here. So let's go ahead and test that theory. I'm not sure if it does, but let's test it. So I debug right here, and then, okay, cool. So almost got it. See, we have a logic error where it just kind of ran them all. And I think I know what it was. I don't think I filtered it out. Yeah, I didn't filter the data out. So if I edit this and I edit my active form flow, edit rule flow, and then I get the ID and I say I want the ID of the selected one, and then I select from flow form data, not form, well, yeah, it would be data repeater, and I go to selected item and then the ID of that selected, then what should happen is this changes based on what a user clicks on. I'm not sure what your, what the interface is for you,
Yeah.
but this should give us something that's more reflective. And then if I click on Jada, boom, Charles, Will, and Gordon. I click back on Jared, and it switches. So that'd be a way you could transfer the data, or if you want this menu, you can. So I'll export this project so you have it, and you can
Okay.
break it down and decide how you want it, or if it's useful at all. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
yeah. Let's see. For Brian Kim. And project with dependencies, yep. Export, download. And Brian. This is going to be displaying lists of data. I think I already downloaded this, so I can go to my file explorer. There you go. Boom. All right, cool. Just sent it. So that should be getting it soon.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Let's see. Jeremy, Larry, do you guys have any questions? I do not. Just do the company trying to do it. Oh, cool. Yeah. That's good. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll be on mute. If you guys do have a question, I'll be monitoring the chat. Just feel free to send a comment. I'll look at it, and then I will then demonstrate or answer your question.
Wait, I have a question, Jared.
Yeah, go right ahead.
If no one else had a question, could you kind of go over like the caching thing that you mentioned? I don't have any experience with caching, so I don't really know what tools or kind of how to configure this to get what we need for the form that I was mentioning in the beginning.
Sure. I'll actually show you. I think we have a server the training team uses that kind of utilizes this. This is probably the way I would recommend. On every step, as it's loading, I'm gonna go back to my local. On every step in decisions, and I know you're working. Haha. Anyway, on every step in decisions, run flow, there is, I'm gonna show you on the fetch entity step, because this is usually where it comes across, but it can come across in other steps. There is the outcomes part on the bottom right. of the properties, if you expand that, you have this opportunity to say, I want to cache the outcomes. And you could say per user, per global, or however way you want. And then you could specify the cache interval, meaning that, hey, the first data it's going to be live, but then every time this step runs, it's just going to reference the prefetched data that it already has in the server memory. And so this is probably the best recommended way, because then you won't have to always create your own cache, place it in the cache, then fetch from the cache. Think of the cache as just like another place where you store information. So a great analogy for it is like the bank, your wallet, or going to the bank, right? Your wallet's like the cache. When you go to the grocery store, you can pay with your card, you got money, that's it's easy. But let's say you're going to an event with your family where it's cash only, right? Hardly anybody carries cash nowadays. So in order to pay for that event, you got to drive all the way out of the way to go to an ATM. Then you have to put in your information. Then you have to get money out, and then you can go to your destination and pay for whatever good or service you're acquiring. That's the same concept. The bank is like going back to the database or your main data source, and the wallet is like your cache. And the reason why the wallet's faster is because it's already locally there on the actual server machine, and you don't have to go all the way to an external source to get the data.
Got it.
Another few steps. I'm not sure what your project holds, but if this server just came on. So in Register, this is our main service that allows us to help all of our customers, all of our students going through training. And so what we utilize here is we have a lot of integrations, and within those integrations, I'm going to say let's fetch. Yeah, let's use this fetch the data here. So whenever we utilize any of these like integration steps,
Mm.
it's those could also be steps that suck a lot of time, right? Because it and naturally an integration says go to this external system and grab data. And if you just leave the step the way it is, it's constantly going to keep talking to whatever the thing it has to go to, right? And
Mm.
so a way to make that faster is we also change the outcomes here and say, hey, cache right here, like we already have it, globally cache the outcome for 4 hours. So that means for 4 hours, it's going to fetch the data once, and then it's going to just reference the cache of that step and on the server memory instead of having to go to wherever you store it. So that would be the thing that I would recommend if you're using any of integrations or any fetching, if you find yourself fetching a lot in your project.
Got it. What's like a recommended amount of time span for the cache?
Whatever you guys think is necessary. That one's highly variable. So what I would do is I would just test
Mhm.
with a certain time frame, and if that worked, then do it. And if it doesn't, then either increase or decrease the time frame depending on what you're trying to accomplish.
Okay, sounds good.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. If there's no questions in 5 minutes, then I'm going to end the Zoom call so we can get the recording uploaded on our YouTube channel. And then our next Lunch and Learn will be tomorrow with Cameron Erbury from the support team. All right, guys, thanks so much for attending. I'm going to end the Zoom call. We will upload this call in a couple of hours so you can review back this recording. And tomorrow we'll have our final lunch and learn for the week with Cam and Irby. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and take care.